Hello again. I'm John Turzak, and I'm still from Chicago, even though I don't live there anymore, and I'm bringing you another video recipe from the Seasoned Cook. This is a Chicago regional specialty called Italian beef sandwich, Chicago style, okay? Now, I'm going to start you out by making some juice. I already have some made, but I'm going to show you how I made it. And one of the strangest thing about this juice, if you want this beef juice to be really authentic, you need to use beef bouillon to make it. Can you use your own? I just put a couple of cubes of beef bouillon in that water. Can you make your own beef stock and reduce it? And have, yeah, you could, but it's not going to taste like what is reasonably expected by a Chicagoan who eats this, okay? And so then I'm going to put a little bit of garlic in this. I got about 3-4 cups of water here. Put a tablespoon and a half. Put a little bit of pepper in there. Put a little bit of dried oregano, tablespoon or so. A little bit of dried basil. And juice is nice and hot now. A little bit of dried basil. I'm going to put that on to simmer. I'm not going to use it because I already have one made because I don't want to spend any time on this camera doing that. So now here I have the juice that I already made. Okay? Now, you can roast your own top round of beef for this sandwich, or you can go to the deli like I did for this particular sandwich. And what I usually do, and hey, let's not forget, this video is for people that don't live in Chicago, that can't go on the corner and buy one of these sandwiches. This is to teach people how to make it at home that are outside of Chicago, that are Chicagoans. So I go to the deli and buy roast beef, and a couple of times I've roasted my own at home. But what I normally do when I want to make the sandwich, and I got a nice soft Italian roll here, okay, is I measure inside the sandwich how much beef I want before I put the beef in the juice. So however big I want the sandwich to be, there, see, I don't need everything that I had. So now I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it in this hot juice. I'm going to let it sit there for a couple of minutes. Now, another thing that I do is I will cut my at home. I will cut my bread in half, so I end up actually with 2 half sandwiches. That way, when I pick one of them up, and it gets all messy and falls apart, I still have another half sandwich left that's intact, okay? So the other ingredients besides juice and the beef is always an option of sweet green bell peppers that are cooked tender in butter or oil with a little bit of garlic and maybe moistened with a little bit of the juice, which is what I did, okay? That's an option. Normally, if I went into a beef stand or a Chicago dog place that sold beef sandwiches, I would walk in and I would order, give me a beef, sweet and hot. I would say either dipped, which means dip the sandwich in the juice, or wet, meaning you can ladle some juice over it, or dry, and they give you the juice on the side. But those are the 3 ways usually that you would get the juice. The beef is looking good. We're just leaving it stew in there. And then the other condiment that's always offered is either hot or mild giardiniera. And I have a jar here, but there's the vendors in Chicago have many varieties of giardiniera, but they're all either mild or hot, which is part of the offering. So if you're making this at your house, you already know what you want, but that's how they're normally ordered. I have hot because that's what I prefer. So this is mainly vegetables marinated with chilies to make it hot. And that's the entire beef sandwich in a nutshell. So, let's start by getting the beef into the sandwich, which I have 2 little mini sandwiches here is what I've got. You don't want to over marinate the beef into juice. Let's get a little bit of this back for this side. There we go. So, I want sweet and hot. So, I'm going to put some sweet directly on it. And I'm going to put some of the hot giardiniera directly on it. Which is my preference. You may not want either one, or you may want mild giardiniera on yours. Or neither one, like I said. Okay, the final touch on this sandwich is adding the juice to the sandwich. So, what I normally do at home is I use a ladle, and I ladle the amount of juice on the bread that I want. I tend to like it a little sloppy, and yes, you're going to need a dozen napkins when you eat one of these sandwiches, paper napkins. All right, there you go. That looks juicy enough for me. Now, another reason why this is a regional special, I'm going to wrap this video up right now by telling you this. No matter where you go in the Chicago area, whoever's selling this sandwich to you, it's going to be like this and offered to you like this. Do you want it with sweet? Do you want it with hot? Do you want it with both? Do you want it dipped? Do you want it wet? Do you want it dry? Blah, blah, blah. So there you have it. Chicago's own Italian beef sandwich, like only they make in Chicago.